No girl you don't know is ever worth getting into a fight over. In this video, I'm going to tell you 4 short stories that illustrate if and when you should get into a fight over a girl versus avoiding an actual full-out physical confrontation. One of the fears we have as men when we're going out and trying to meet women, trying to learn social skills, is you're always wondering, like, do I compete with this guy over this girl? And then what if it gets out of hand? What if it gets physical? And in certain cities, like San Diego, for example, you'll see bar fights like every weekend. And so you have to learn how to protect yourself.
I'm going in.
To help you understand like when to run and when to fight. And what you can do if someone picks on you, if someone tries to, out-dominate you, if they're physically stronger, if they try to start a fight with you, what to do about it if you're ever in that situation. The first story is about my friend who was practicing this type of game where he was very aggressive. He would go up to a girl and just start like really laying on thick, He would be like, hey girl, how's it going? He won't care how many guys are already talking to her. He'll just like go up there and just like be super dominant and super sexual vibe. Okay, he's not grabbing her or anything, but he's like standing there and it's like he's very like putting himself out there. So one time there was this group of like gangster looking Asian guys. I think this was in San Jose, and my friend just goes up. I'm like, dude, are you sure? And he just goes up to them and he goes straight to the girl who's standing next to a guy who might have been her boyfriend, and he just starts hitting on her. He's like, hey, how's it going? And he just ignores all these other gangster looking Asian guys. I was like, wow, he's brave. So I go talk to my other friend, and then 30 seconds later I look down and I see my friend being choked out by this Asian guy, and my friend's like this, like, help.
Hell no!
And I'm like, oh crap. So I run towards him, and then one of the other friends just say, hey dude, stop, like you're gonna get arrested. And he choked him for about like 10 seconds and then he let go. And then my friend just kind of walked over this way and he was like, he's like, where were you, bro? I needed your help. And I was like,
ting tang, walla walla bing bang.
So in this case, my friend was out of line, and I don't know if he got what he deserved, but he put himself in that situation. Don't go up to gangster looking dudes and straight up hit on the girl without paying respects to the guys first. That's the lesson. Second story is about fighting with a guy over a girl. Now, how do you know when a guy is willing to get physical or not? Well, one thing you want to look for are cues that tell you whether or not the guy is willing to play by the social rules of the game. And the basic social rules of the game that most players know is that all's fair in love and war. You spit your game, you run your game, and the girl chooses who she wants to date or go home with. And the loser says good game and goes home. That's the guy who respects the rules of the game. I'm out by myself this night and I see this beautiful girl from Texas. She's alone, she's visiting. I talk to her and she's cool. I go to the bathroom and I come back and there's like 4 guys standing around her talking to her, and I go back and I try to initiate a conversation with her. And what I learned is that, oh, I have some competition. She's actually talking to all these other guys too. However, every now and then she's talking to them, she would look back at me and she'd be like, the eye contact was like, hey, I'm into you, you just gotta step up. So I stay in that interaction, and at some point I grabbed her hand under the table, and under the table we're holding hands, and I could see that it was a very bold move, but I could also feel that she was attracted and she didn't let go when I squeezed. So that's how I knew. I'm like, okay, if I just hold her hand and I look this way, she's back there talking to all the other guys and I'm still holding her hand.
Yeah, boy.
It's so funny because all the other guys are like, I have a nice car, we got like this table here, my penthouse apartment, you should come through. And she just kept repeating, I can't, I'm a good girl, sorry, I can't tonight, I'm sorry. And they were trying so hard. Now, most of these guys did not exhibit fighting signs, okay? So signs of aggression. So I knew I could play the game usually how I run it. Eventually, I walked her back to her hotel room and remained friends for many years thereafter. Now, if you see signs like this, popping the collar, like pulling up the pants, showing dominance, physically hovering over you, usually if they look like either a more ghetto bar or like a dive bar, or they look like they have less to lose, the more likely it is they'll get into a fight. In a town like San Diego, downtown has some pretty nice upscale bars, but if you're like in a place like Pacific Beach, PB, it's a military town, some guys have gotten shot there, so you just have to be really careful in America. Like someone might pull out a knife or a gun, right? So it's just like it's never worth it, just to like not even worth testing.
Okay.
At the same time, you also don't want to run away if the girl likes you and the other guy's like not gonna start a physical fight. So there's a very fine line here. In America, I tend to lean towards just being safe because of the number of people that own guns there, outnumbers the number of pets. The third story is how I got into a fight. So walking out of my salsa, I'd go to the salsa nightly dance thing. I danced, I had fun, I was walking home. And as I'm walking home, I see this girl eyeing me. And she's standing right outside the bar has like an outside seating area. So she's standing there. And I walked by and I just said, hey, you looked interesting. And I wanted to meet you. And she was like, she didn't really respond that well, but she was like, cool, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right when I'm about to say the next thing, this drunk guy comes. I'm not sure, but he looked Middle Eastern. And then he comes in and he's like, hey, man, that's my wife, okay? And I was like, oh, sorry, I didn't see a ring on the finger. My bad, I didn't get the memo. Nice to meet you. And I walk, and I just like, it was cool. And then he just got up in my face. He's like, that's my wife, bro. That's my wife.
Daddy, chill.
Sounds funny now, but at the time I was like, who is this guy? So I looked at him and I could tell he was a little drunk and I'm like, okay, it's all good. So I just walk away. As I'm walking away, this guy starts following me. And I walk away where I walked down the street and I took a right turn on purpose. So I wasn't walking in a straight line so he couldn't see me. And I was trying to avoid him. And as I walked to the other street, I saw some of my salsa friends and we hung out there. And then a minute later, I see this guy come. He went back and then he came back with another friend of his. Okay, 2 guys. And then he starts harassing me. That was my wife, man. You hit on my wife. And I'm like, bro, I'm sorry. It's all good. And he just got up in my face and kept saying like random things. And meanwhile, his friend, who happens to be overweight, this is an important detail later, is standing at the side.
Okay, Mr. Essay.
At this point, my salsa friends are like, what is wrong with this guy? Like, did you do something? I'm like, no, I said hi to a girl and apparently he knows her and that was that. And my salsa friends were like, dude, what is wrong with you? Like, go home. And even the girls in the salsa group were like trying to diffuse the situation.
Meanwhile,
The guy sticked around. He started standing closer and closer to me. And eventually he was within striking distance. And at the time, I didn't recognize this. He was exhibiting fighting signs. He was doing this, like lifting up his shorts and he was looking around, right? Those are signs that someone's about to attack. Suddenly, in the middle of a sentence, he takes a swing at me. And I don't know if I think I got lucky, but I had some martial arts classes when I was in Taiwan as a kid. But at that point in my life, I had no training. And he took a swing at me and by instinct, I dodged it, but he hit a little bit here and there was a bruise here for like a few days afterwards. But as soon as he took a swing, my adrenaline took over. It was like automatic. I wasn't even thinking. I dropped my bag and I got up and then I threw 2 fake punches. I went like this. 1, 2, like just fake. And I could see by his reactions to those 2 fake punches that he was like drunk to the point where he wasn't even reacting to those 2 punches. So I wasn't even thinking logically. Instinctively, I was like 1, 2, and I knew that the third one would connect. So I went 3. And the third one, when I went like this, because my arms are long, I have a long reach. The third one hit him right here and I heard a crack, like the bones crack, and he dropped to the floor. And at the time, there was so much adrenaline. It was like, I have never gotten to a fight like this before, that the only thing I could think of was survival. And I knew that he had a friend. So if I let him get up, it would be 2 versus 1. So I instinctively just got up on top of him and I was about to land another punch. I wanted to neutralize him so he could not get up. Otherwise, it would be 2 guys against 1.
You're here, I'm here. Let's do this!
And as I'm about to land the second punch, his fat friend runs over and he pushes me off of him. Lucky for me, his friend was out of shape and didn't know how to fight. If his friend knew how to fight, he would have taken a bottle and like smacked me over the head or something, right? So all of this, by the way, is like, it sounds cool that I won the fight, but really I was just lucky.
All right. You're lucky you missed.
So the friend pushes me off and then things diffuse and the guy is like trying to stay conscious. He gets up and then after like 10 seconds, he starts like, yeah, you're an asshole, da da da. You hit on my girl. But as he's doing this, he's walking away. So he's like,
Why are you running?
my adrenaline was also starting to calm down and I'm like thinking this over. I'm like, well, if I do fight them now, even though he's walking away and he's hurt, he's got his friend with him and there might be other friends. So I'm just like, dude, it's not worth it. So I just, I went home. The after effect of that, there was a lot of emotions that came up and I felt anger. I felt wanted revenge and all of the trapped emotions I had from high school with my high school friends. They were not even friends. My high school bullies choking me, beating me in front of girls. All those emotions came back and I just could not get rid of them. It like opened the floodgates. And that was when I started taking martial arts training because I needed an outlet for all that emotion that was built up over time. Now, why do I tell you the story? In that situation, I wasn't looking for a fight. That's when I knew the reason I started taking classes and learning about guns and pepper spray and tasers, living in America, in San Diego, one of the biggest military towns, is because there are people who want trouble. They're looking for trouble. And in that situation, I was trying to avoid trouble and he followed me. So in any regular circumstance, you can walk away, but in that situation, I had no choice. And so there will be situations where you are put in a situation where you don't have a choice but to fight, and you better know how to do it. Otherwise, you'll be a victim. So I got lucky in that situation, and I promised myself I will never rely on luck again. And so I learned basic self-defense skills. I learned how to use a taser. I learned how to use a pepper spray. Even though I was in America, I don't think civilians should own guns, so I never bought a gun, but I went to train and I knew the basics, okay? So that story illustrates the fact that sometimes people just want trouble, and disengaging is not enough. You have to run away all the way back to your house where they can't find you, right? I probably could have just ran super hard and not even talked to my friends and just ran home. But I felt like that was shameful and that I would lose value with my friends. But in reality, like, who cares, right? Just run. The fourth story, this is again, people that are looking for trouble, especially in America, especially against a skinny Asian guy who they think they can beat up. My cousin was dating this girl who, she's a bitch. I'll just say it. She's a total bitch.
What did he say?
Nobody likes her. The only reason my cousin's dating her is because, according to him, she's crazy in bed. My aunt hates her, I hate her, all his friends hate her. She's one of those people that just makes life miserable for everybody, even though she's hot. And she's one of these Asian girls who is very like self-centered. So she gives you like one of those like the coldest Asian girl looks, like what the fuck are you doing? Like kind of like just makes you feel like little, you know? And they're at this other bar, I learned later on, and there's 4 military guys that are drinking, and they're just like really rowdy, and they're going up talking to different girls, and you know, they get rejected or whatever, but then they end up with my cousin and his girl, and they hit on his girl, and his girl was basically gave him like the very harsh rejection, like what the fuck is wrong with you guys, right? What's wrong with you? Kind of like that vibe, okay? So what happened was the 4 military guys took that personally, and maybe because my cousin was Asian, you know, race is a factor here, let's be honest, but they followed his girlfriend and him from that bar to the bar we were at in Palo Alto, and my cousin walks in, and right away I sense something's wrong. My cousin's like, oh, everyone together, and he just like tried to keep the group together, and I didn't know what was going on at the time, but eventually he said everyone walk together to the car. So he's trying to keep the herd. Get in the cab. And I'm like, what the hell is going on?
What is going on here?
We get to outside, we're waiting for the cars, and these guys come out, and now I know what's going on. They're like, hey, you know, they wanted to fight. And my cousin's like, well, how about I call the cops? And he picked up his phone, and one of the guys grabbed his phone and slammed it against the ground. The phone breaks, and my cousin's like, are you gonna pay for the phone? And the guy's like, pay for the phone? That's when like I took a step forward. Like as soon as he grabbed the phone and smashed it, instinctually my body stepped forward.
I was a sparring partner for Muhammad Ali. I'll take any 2 of you on right now.
And right away one of the guys pushed me, and I kind of landed against a tree. Luckily for us, because we were 3 skinny Asian guys, okay? And they were 4 trained military guys. Even though they were drunk, they knew how to fight. Cop car rolled by, and the guy just cursed us and kind of walked away.
Get the f*** out of here!
Whew, wild story. So the aftermath is everyone just looked at each other and kind of went home. The next day, my cousin calls me and says, hey man, you didn't have my back, you know?
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
And I'm like, bro, I had your back. I was the one who stepped up. And he was angry for me at a while. And I realized now that he wasn't really angry at me. He had this anger, like this emotional floodgates open, and he just felt a lot of emotion, and he didn't know how to process it, and he couldn't be mad at his girlfriend. Why do I tell you the story? Well, in that story, his girlfriend almost got us killed. What? Had the cop car not rolled over then, okay, we perhaps would have gotten into a pretty serious fight with guys who were trained on how to fight. All because she was a bitch. Is it her fault that these 4 military guys are drunk and belligerent and going around bullying people? No. But because of her demeanor, she was making it easy for us to get picked on.
Here's what they did. They actually went into New York City. They set up a camera on the street. They filmed people just walking by, like 60 people randomly. All shapes, sizes, gender, color, whatever, bunch of people. And then they took that video and they went into a prison, and they sat down with some of the worst psychopaths in there, the murderers, the people that'll hurt people just for fun. And they actually showed them the video, and as they scrolled through the video, watched it, they asked them to pick out quickly who they would victimize and who they would leave alone. And then they gathered that data. And it was interesting looking at it because at times, sure, some size and physicality played a role, But there were times when small women were passed up for larger men that the psychopaths said they would victimize. So clearly it wasn't just size and male versus female. There was something, some nonverbal cue that people were giving off that said, I'm probably an easier victim than the guy next to me.
Here's where, like, for the women, like when a guy's like being like that, you're like, hey, I'm sorry, we're really busy tonight, but you know, you look good, thank you so much. Like, dude, she'll give him some value, even though he's being a dick because she's afraid of retaliation. This girl had no social intuition, no empathy. She was just like, F off, or she said something like really mean, I'm sure. That prompted them, that hurt them so much that their egos can take it and they had to follow them to another bar and eventually start a fight. I don't know these bullies, these guys. I think they're a-holes for sure, but I have no control over that. My cousin has control over who he dates, and this girl, because of how she hurt the guy's ego, created a situation for us that could have been life or death.
Oh, scary.
I was in a situation that I wasn't even aware of, and I felt like I was pretty upset with my cousin for dating her and putting up with her, and that was one of the reasons why I kind of separated from him, because he was always a guy who took whatever life gave him, and I was a guy who I believe that you can get better girls. I believe that if you improve your self-development skills, your communication skills, and eventually I did. I dated some amazing women because I improved these areas, whereas he's stuck with girls that, yes, she's hot, but she's got all these problems, right? And I never had to settle for a girl with problems. I got the hot girl inside and out.
Nice.
So those are my 4 stories of fights. I hope they inspire you, maybe scare you a little bit into knowing what your limits are as far as fighting, and also to be prepared in those situations to know, this is a social battle of game and wit versus this is going to get physical. I'm not going to risk my physical well-being for some girl that I don't know. And to recognize when you have problematic friends or girlfriends that either instigate fights or make it easy for bullies to pick you as someone to physically dominate. Look, if you're out there, man, if you're in America, my advice to you is just run away and get your frustration out on those boxing things, or take a martial arts class, because America, there's just too many guns and too much violence and knives. Like, you don't want to be like, one mistake, your life is over.
No. Wait.
If you're in a country like Taiwan or Japan or whatever, you can still push it a little bit, but just, you know, compete, but compete like politely. And if you recognize the other person not honoring the rules of the game, you may want to step away and just talk to the next girl, because there's infinite girls out there, but you only have one life.
Okay.
I hope this was useful to you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Enjoy.